Look, if you are blissfully offline, you might have been surprised to find that the Oxford word of the year is brain rot. But if you're extremely online, brain rot is like the only way to describe what life on the internet has been like. The group chat is here. You'll hear why brain rot sums up the internet in 2024. I'm Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and this is Commotion. Look, I don't know about you, but 2024, it hits different. Like, the velocity of memes is a little too much. Like, remember Kamala as Brat? I would like to not remember Kamala as Brat. Very demure, very mindful, the Hawk Tour girl. I'm done with all of these things. There's also this blue Grinch knee surgery thing that, please, for the love of God, no one explain to me because I can't take any more of this. But the point is, it feels like the second that you have sort of understood something, the second that you're like, I think I maybe have Skibidi Toilet figured out, it's like, it's too late and we've moved on and there's something else. So when the Oxford Dictionary people were like, you know what, the word of the year is going to be brain rot, I was, I think, a bit relieved. I think the reason I was relieved is because I immediately thought, I guess I wasn't the only one. Like, this has kind of been the way that my online life has been defined. Here is the definition they've given us. Brain rot is a deterioration of a person's mental or intellectual state linked to spending extensive stretches of time scrolling through low quality online content. I can relate. In other words, 2024, for a whole lot of people, that is what life has been like. So to talk about their own experiences of brain rot and what that word of the year actually tells us about right now, Jackson Weaver is here, Rebecca Jennings is here, Mel Woods is here. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Brain Rot Central. How's it going?
Oh, hello.
Hello.
How you doing? I'm excited that we're doing this. Rebecca, we've got this official definition where you walk up to the microphone and go, like, the Oxford Dictionary defines brain rot as. And I don't really want to do that. I want you, because like this is where you spend so much of your time and your energy as an online culture reporter, as a brain rot reporter, if you will. How do you define or explain what brain rot is?
Yes, as a professor emeritus of brain rot. No, I think of it almost like a language. I think of it as like, if you're speaking brain rot to someone, it's a way of kind of acknowledging like, hey, like, we have spent the same insane amount of time on these algorithms that are really personalized to us, but also are really atomized and everyone kind of sees different things. Yeah. But it's kind of my way of being like, hey, I've seen that. Have you seen that? Like, are you on the same internet that I am? And it's a way of kind of acknowledging like how weird it is. Like, yeah, we know our brains are rotted because of this, but like, it's still a funny way to communicate, I think.
Yeah, because like there's like an overwhelm to the amount of language that is shared, that where you just like, the idea that you could just say the reference and everyone sort of understands all the jokes that have been made about that thing. That is, it's its own sort of separate universe. Jackson, you were describing yourself as the bane of brain rot before we started chatting in the chat, which is to say that you were like sort of deeply formed by this. Tell me how brain rot shows up in your life right now.
I mean, it's gone like throughout my whole life. I'm the bane of brain rot because I had to grow up on Tumblr and the whole like vibe there. I think that's like, I mean, I had my like unfortunate like Reddit days as a youth, like the B-tard and like growing up that like language that's now evolved to today. I was in like the skateboarding world. I had to like be aware of who Baby Scumbag is, who's the progenitor of Baby Gronk, who I had to know about because I like football. So I had to know about him before he rizzed up Livy Dunn. I'm an entertainment reporter.
That sentence is a nightmare. You understand? Like I can't pause. I can't pause to explain everything you just said because all of those are nightmarish. But anyway, continue. Yes.
I mean, like it's what like the entertainment world has also become because we cover the world of TikTok. So I had to listen to Sticking Out Your Gap for the Rizzler and report on Lil Tay's fake death. I had to like not only that, you know, one of my two truths and a lie at any party. I don't know, you know, like sludge content where like you have a video on top and the bottom you see like Subway Surfers or like something unrelated.
Yeah.
I named that. I was the first person. January 2023, we were doing a report. I had seen this all over TikTok, all over Twitter, and I was like, what is this? Interviewed neurologists, interviewed psychologists, and they were all like, we have no idea what this is. We put out the very first article about it, and in the article, we said it doesn't have a name. Let's call it sludge content, and that's what it is now. And that is how rotted my brain is at this point.
Okay, so now we have two Professor Emeriti of brain rot. Mel, you're a current practicing professor of brain rot. I know this. Talk to me about how brain rot shows up for you.
I mean, I think that I agree with Jackson that I too come from the Tumblr generation. My first online space was running a very successful Orphan Black fan Tumblr account. So, the roots are there. We've
The
been
roots are
there.
there.
We've been in the trenches.
Yes.
But, I think the current 2024 experience of this, we can't go in this conversation without talking about TikTok. And I like to say that I think a certain generation, and I don't just mean like people younger than me, I mean people my age and older than me, watch TikTok the way that old people watch cable news, as this sort of like comfort padding blanket from the world around us. Because there's this, I wouldn't say negative stuff that's on there, the true rotted garbage, but there's also positive rot. There's like, Moodang. Moodang is positive brain rot. She makes me
Moodang
feel
is a hippo
good.
who's gone viral because she's cute, but also I've had enough Moodang, so I don't want to even explain Moodang further.
That's
Continue.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
My partner and I dressed up as Moodang and Pesto the Penguin for Halloween this year. That's how
Yeah.
deeply in positive brain rot. So I see it as like cotton padding around my fragile little sense of self and conception of the world amidst the news cycle of 2024 that
Yeah.
I think brain rot gives you that soft, squishy layer to protect yourself from the world and just consume nonsense and garbage and everything everywhere all at once in really quick succession.
Before we go on to this conversation, I just want to explain to folks who are listening that I had to sort of make a decision before walking into the studio about the possibility of explaining every reference that you guys were going to make in this conversation. And I had to actively decide against it, because if I were to be okay, let me explain who Baby Gronk is first. Okay, let me explain what it means to what the Rizzler is. We would literally be here all day. And then also B, I'm not sure you'd get at anything productive, because the speed of things that come at us is so overwhelming that that's a little bit of what it means to live in brain rot, is you consume the thing, the reference, and then you encode it into your brain, and then you go, all right, what's the next thing that we're all kind of consuming? Mel, if you had to explain to a person what constantly sort of scrolling does to your brain, how would you explain that? What does it feel like?
I guess that soft padding that kind of just dulls everything and dulls, it's a dissociation, right? It's a dissociation. And we all have various dissociation tactics in all aspects of our lives. But I think being able to turn off brain and go into this little safe space where there's, again, weird nonsense, fast experience, but also just speaking off of TikTok, we talk about reality TV does the same thing. I've watched so many seasons of Top Chef in the last couple months, really since the American election.
Sure.
Don't ask me why Top Chef specifically. My Hayu account was just watch it. And I was okay.
You're all right.
And whenever I feel bad, I'm whenever I feel bad, I'm I better go watch a Top Chef, because that will make me feel safe and coddled. Yeah. And I think that that's where a lot of people continue to kind of consume this content on whatever platform of choice they have, because it just makes you feel kind of, even if not consciously, subconsciously kind of protected and safe and okay amongst a world that is very much not right now.
Yeah. Rebecca, there's I think an awkwardness to making the jump from translating online culture to normies, to locals, to people who don't live in the sludge the way that the rest of us maybe do. And one of the things that Oxford Dictionary people will be well, actually, it was Henry David Thoreau who first used the phrase brain rot. And he did it in 1854. I think the quote was, "While England endeavors to cure the potato rot, will not anyone endeavor to cure the brain rot?" Which, valid question. The idea that this phrase has existed for that while, and it kind of keeps popping up. There's something different about every generation's version of brain rot. The idea of Saturday morning cartoons is different than, watching unboxing videos on YouTube. And so when you kind of get to 2024's version of brain rot, what makes it so rooted in 2024? What makes it unique, you think?
I mean, it's absolutely just the scale of it. We've never had this much stuff being shoved into our timelines and our feeds without even really us having to go searching for it. I think that's the difference. With Saturday morning cartoons, you're the one that's, turning on the TV, you can flip between channels, you're choosing to watch that. You kind of don't really have a ton of options, but you can at least change the channel. Where it's algorithmic feeds, it just kind of shows you what it thinks that you're going to like. And these platforms are so good at this now that on the one side, it's they know exactly what you want to watch, but at the same time, you have all of these, content creators who are really, really good at making videos that, you know, have been A/B tested to death, and they know exactly like when people scroll and when people want to stay. And then like the scale has gotten so big that there are these people who now teach other people like how to like create these brain rot empires where, you know, you make money from these platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram Reels, TikTok, whatever. They make money directly from the platforms based on the amount of engagement that their content gets. And, you know, you can make thousands of dollars a month that way. And for a lot of people, for anybody really, like that's a ton of money. You can live off of that. And so as long as there's that incentive for people to keep creating these like giant brain rot empires, then like it will keep being shoved in our faces because it's good for the platforms because people keep watching it. And it's good for the people who are making money off of it. And even if people like, even if regular users are like, why am I just like feeling like I was in a daze for the past 2 hours when I don't even know like what was I just consuming? It's good for like the attention economy, which is the world we're all living in.
Long after the fires stop burning, long after all the cities are gone and the grass and the trees take over the detritus of society, I'll be thinking about the phrase brain rot empire. So thank you for that burden that I'm going to be carrying forward in my day. Jackson, I do think that we got to talk about, like the reason we're talking about this is because the good folks at Oxford English Dictionary were like, you know what, we shall bestow upon this some kind of recognition. It sort of formalizes the recognition and the engagement with it. They've been doing this for 20 years. Every year they kind of go like, this will be the word of the year. This kind of like is the thing that defines how we've lived this year. How did they come up with brain rot this year? Like, what's the methodology behind how you arrive at something like that?
Well, I'm gonna say it's not, maybe as official as an election or something. It's maybe a
like
little bit
Conclave.
closer. It's not no, I mean that was fun if you saw that movie. But if you remember like the Bodie McBoatface sort of thing, it's similar to that in that there's like votes from the internet, but also it's decided upon by Oxford English Dictionary, different language dictionaries across the world related to Oxford, and it's not them saying this is the best word of the year, this is the most official sounding word. It's not them saying like I like this word. It's them trying to encapsulate what word best defines the sentiment that has been at the forefront of conversations and discussion and writing of the past year. And like if you look back, if you look over to other dictionaries, they're doing the same thing. Collins' year of the word was brat. Dictionary.com was demure. Yeah. If you go back last year, Oxford's was goblin mode. Or sorry, it was Riz last year, I think, and it was goblin mode the year before that. And this is like words that really describe what we're talking about, what we're thinking, and it's similar to how Time magazine does the person of the year. They're not thinking of the best person of the year. Hitler was person of the year in 1938. It's the person that best encapsulates, for better or for worse, what we focus on. And like Rebecca was just saying, that's the attention economy. I know we said we're not going to explain too much about all these things, but like if you go to Baby Gronk, I think that's one of the main things that had come up about this. He's like this kid who is a football player and his dad orchestrates his social media presence, and it's all about getting you mad. He's shown doing things that are like he's with women that are scantily clad to get people to comment and be so upset about why he is popular. This headline came out on all these social media sites. Baby Gronk rizzed up Livy Dunn, which we're not going to explain, but it just made people mad over how nonsensical it was. And that got attention and that got him money. And that's what 2024 has been about, unfortunately.
There's just so much darkness in everything that you just said, and I'm so sad that you took a moment to explain Baby Gronk on the show. But I'm grateful that you did it. I'm not going to explain Bodie McBoatface. I'm going to just keep it moving. If you need to look that up, please do. Mel, when you kind of look at this year, what does it say to you that the Oxford folks chose brain rot this year in particular as the word of the year?
Yeah, I think that for lack of a more nuanced term, this year was weird in a bad way. The vibes crashed.
The vibes were off
year.
Before, but they really, yes.
Yeah, and there's various reasons for that. You look at the news cycle, you look at what's happening in Palestine, you look at the American election, how that all went. You look at these kind of various news cycle items that are kind of big and dark and bad. And let's talk about another year where the news cycle was big and dark and bad. 2020. The difference between this year and 2020 is 2020 was a like collective experience of big and dark and bad.
Yeah.
Everybody was able to name the thing and have that we're all in this together mentality. So while we like retreated online, we also weirdly kind of collectively retreated online and into collective online spaces.
Yes.
Whereas in 2024, we are all just on our own little dissociation islands trying to process what's happening out there. Yeah. And it feels, speaking from an audience perspective, it feels like we're kind of alone in the world and that our problems are our problems and that, we messed this thing up and, oh my gosh, this thing's happening and I don't know how to deal with it. And there's a lot less there's a lot less collective to our experience of 2024, I think, than of, again, an objectively terrible year, 2020, 4 years ago. So I think Brain Rot fits really well for this year because that is that isolated, I'm alone in my bed under my heated blanket with my cat while my partner is trying to read, just like scrolling and trying to feel something, and trying to find, that local influencer who I hate follow and have to see how much money he spends in a day, or like have to see the guy who's fostering a litter of very cute kittens giving updates about them. Like I need that because that's the only thing that's like keeping me going through all of the horrible things going on right now. And I think that's relatable to a lot of people.
Dissociation Island, famously my favorite television show. I'm so glad that you brought that up. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and this show is called Commotion. Jackson Weaver is here, Rebecca Jennings is here, and Mel Woods is here, and we are talking about brain rot being the word of the year. Jackson, a little bit of this is also generational, and I think we have to sort of talk about that dimension of this. I am a millennial. I am carrying all kinds of arrogance around here these days. However, I think like we have to sort of contend with the fact that like brain rot sort of does coincide with like the full online arrival of Gen Alpha. I think for the first meaningful time, we have to contend with the Gen Alpha fully kind of entering the internet. So when we think about brain rot, we kind of think of it as like a Gen Alpha and a sort of a Gen Z thing. How are you thinking about the ways the generations play into this?
I think that brain rot is as a concept of us being overstimulated to the point that we need flashing lights to keep us attention grabbed to anything, really became like a phenomenon among Gen Z. But I think that the reason that is blown up so much is because it's Gen Alpha actually carving out an identity for themselves. And this happens every generation, going back to the beginning of history. People realize that they age and they're not necessarily always in the in-group. And this is Gen Z being like, what the heck? There's slang that I didn't make up. And it's like, this really started. And again, I'm sorry for getting too hyper specific, but I'm the bane of brain rot. And like this really started like Kyle Martin, that 12-year-old Riz kid getting interviewed in New York by Eric Jang, where he was talking about Riz using all these phrases and Gen Z being like, I don't know these words. These kids have like things I haven't heard before, or that song Sticking Out Your Gap for the Rizzler on TikTok, people going crazy, the Baby Grunk that we already mentioned. So it really is something that is hyper specific to a new generation, but the phenomenon of having your brain rotted by constant stimulation and getting manipulated into focusing on things that waste your time is endemic to society, to everyone that has been sucked into Twitter, onto arguments that don't matter between people that will never meet each other just to gain profit for the social media company that's operating these echo chambers. That's everyone. But brain rot in terms of what's Skibbity Toilet is specifically Gen Alpha, and 15 years from now, Gen Alpha is going to be on Commotion themselves doing their own episode about what the next generation is talking about, and they'll continue until we're all gone.
I can't relate because I'm reading War and Peace, so yikes to all those people. Rebecca, listen, I think it's important to mention that like Oxford doesn't do this for charity. They do this because it gets them several days of news coverage. People talk about the Oxford English Dictionary and go like, oh my God, did you hear about their word of the year? We are doing that on the show. And the fact that they sort of started doing this 20 years ago, like they're not the only ones that do this. It's now kind of a crowded space, as Jackson sort of mentioned earlier. So Cambridge chose a much more, let's say, sophisticated word. They chose manifest, which like in what world is I manifested this conversation? That is not, to me, that is nowhere close to, the word of the year. Collins English Dictionary chose brat because I don't think we need to explain what brat is. But there's also like some kind of dichotomy there. Like there's brat and there's manifest and then there's brain rot. Do you think when we sort of like assemble all of them together, we get like a clearer picture of where we are right now with the internet?
Yeah, I mean, I think manifest, which I would argue is like 4 years old, but like, and brat, I think both of these things kind of include a desire to like get offline. Like
Yeah.
manifesting is all about like what you want out of your life. And like if I think hard enough, I will obtain something or some that guy will text me back or whatever.
Mhm.
And then Brad is all about, you know, like partying, having fun, like forgetting about, you know, like, did I have my green vitamins this morning? Like that, like, did I get a perfect sleep score? Like, I can't stand
The
that.
voice
Like,
you're using is stellar for this. Stellar. Okay, continue.
Well, yeah, but like Brad is like a rejection of that. And I also think brain rot is kind of too in a way, because by using the term brain rot, we're admitting that it's terrible for us. And
Yeah.
like, and I think all three taken together is just like, it shows that like the people yearn for like IRL stimulation and community and goodness and connection. Because I think we know that a lot of these trends, even Brett, even manifesting, even brain rot, like these are all disposable things that we will forget about because, you know, they're fads, you know, like that's how things work.
Yeah.
But I think what they all kind of say is that, yeah, the people yearn for community.
And you know what they say, you can't have IRL community without a perfect sleep score. I think I've read that in all of the journals. Okay, we are going to play a quick-ish game of your assessment of whether something is brain rot or not. Are you guys ready for this game? Are you ready to do this?
So ready.
Okay,
So
let's
ready.
go. We're going to play some audio, then you're going to tell us if you think it's an example of brain rot or not. Obviously, first up is this. Mel is like, this is a song of my people. Mel, do you want to explain what that is and whether it's brain rot or not?
That's the Subway Surfers music. I want to hear, like, listening
Subway
to that
Surfers
right
being
now.
the video game.
The video game, yes, that many people much younger than me play, but I see on my TikTok feed on occasion. I do say, after coming off of first thing this morning, catching my Spotify Wrapped and seeing truly how much Brat is on there, I want a Club Classics remix of that. I want to be bumping that, and so I want to be bumping that brain rot, and I'm ready to go. So yes, but again, I say brain rot complimentary sometimes. That makes me feel like a baby, like I'm just like coddled and safe and warm. And again, if we get a little bit of a behind that, like. That's community. That's club. I'm ready to go.
I love brain rot, but it's fine actually. Okay, let's do the next one. Rebecca, do you want to explain what this is?
I actually don't know what this is.
Great. It has to do with the blue Grinch knee surgery
Okay,
name.
you said something about a blue Grinch knee surgery, and I was like, I don't need to know about this, and now I need to know about it.
Oh, okay. Great. You don't. But here's the thing: is like people are regularly posting this meme about the Grinch getting knee surgery tomorrow. But now there's like exactly, and all the posts are blue. Jackson, do you want to take this one because I hate everything about it? So please.
I would say this is not necessarily itself brain rot. It's a symptom of brain rot. We're now going into the Dadaist postmodern interpretation of comedy on the internet, where this is funny because it makes no sense and it's dumb, and it's what somebody whose brain has rotted away would, drooling in a padded room, look at and think is funny.
Do you want to take 20 seconds to explain it? Do you want to take 20 seconds to explain what the blue Grinch knee surgery meme is? The face that you're making is like,
good job.
People started posting about the Grinch getting knee surgery tomorrow, and it's blue. I'm like, literally, there's nothing further to add to the joke aside from there are many people making this joke, and that's the thing that sort of builds community. You know what? I'm glad that we don't have to do this. Let's do the next one.
Here, you will choose someone to marry
Hello.
Nice to hear from you. Can't say see ya.
without ever seeing them.
If you're ready to find the love of your life,
Game time.
the pods are now open.
Rebecca, is Love is Blind? Is that brain rot or not?
Okay. I mean, I think reality
30
TV
seconds,
is
by the
not
way.
brain rot.
Okay.
What?
Okay, we have 30
Yeah.
seconds. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's brain rot, but I do think it encourages passive consumption, which are two different things. I am someone who takes reality TV very seriously. I engage with it very critically.
You're writing a book about Love Island right now.
I'm writing a book about Love Island.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's brain rot.
Okay, I think that's very generous of you. Let's do one more. Mel, 20 seconds. You love that sound. Why do you love that sound?
That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. That's
a
one
hydraulic
of those
press.
A big hydraulic press crunching. It sounds like something kind of plasticky, something a little hard, something a little sharp. It's ASMR, you know, it's ASMR by a different name, but it is so satisfying to watch those things get squished.
The way that you just described that is like a wine connoisseur being like, yes, I smell notes of chocolate. That's what I smell it is. I appreciate all of you being here to engage with all of this Brain Rot content. Jackson Weaver, Rebecca Jennings, Mel Woods, you guys are the best. Thank you for your time. This has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. My name is Alameen Abdul-Mahmoud. This show is called Commotion. If you want to let your brain rot, by all means do so. Share with us your favorite memes. Have a good day.